And the plane went into free flight, and then the people started screaming. It just went whoosh, whoosh. Went 3-4 times like this. And everybody was petrified sitting there. And initially, of course, everybody, the first thing that everybody thinks, was starting to scream. And then I said, yes, this is the test. Are we going to think of Krishna at this time or not? Or are we going to think of somebody else? And that's the time we have to think of Krishna. In all fearful situations, think of Krishna and your fear will go away. I remember one brahmachari telling me a little story one time. He was in Bombay. And those of you who have been to Bombay may know about the legendary local trains, which are very, very crowded. And it's so crowded that you practically cannot get into them. And if you're in, then you cannot get out. You're stuck inside, very crowded. So then he had to get down. Anyway, he managed to get in, and he had to get down at another place, at one station. So you have to start preparing for your journey from the middle of the compartment to the doorway, which may be a few feet. But you have to start preparing from the previous station. You have to start pushing your way slowly, 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 till you reach the door. So he managed to reach just the gate, the doorway. When the station came and he was still pushing, he still hadn't got, people were rushing in as well. He managed to squeeze out, he put a foot on the station and the train started. Now it's not like here where the doors close automatically and they open door. And then he somehow or the other got the second foot out as the train was just moving. But he had a bag strapped around his shoulder and that bag was stuck inside and he was outside. And then at that moment he said, I shouted loudly, Krishna! Immediately the bag came away free. Because those persons, they must have been shocked. What is he shouting? So they must have immediately released it. So then after shouting Krishna, then immediately he was free. He was on the station again. So from this little story we can understand how, while it is natural for us to experience fear in this world, but if we call out Krishna's names, if we remember Krishna with faith, take shelter of him and his protection, then we will become fearless. Even in the face of death, we will know that whatever Krishna does will be good for me. Prahlad was completely fearless when Hiranyakashipu was trying to kill him in so many ways. There is no description of Prahlad Maharaj even praying to Krishna for help. That Prahlad prays, Krishna, please save me. My father is trying to kill me. Or his soldiers are trying to kill me. There is no such prayer. Where Prahlad is praying for being saved. Similarly, when Ambarish Maharaj was about to be attacked by the demon released by Durvasa Muni, there is no mention in the Srimad Bhagavatam that he was praying to Krishna, please save me. He was simply absorbed in the Lord. Rakhe Krishna mare Krishna rakhe ke. If Krishna wants to kill, who can save me? If Krishna wants to save me, who can kill me? So therefore the devotee is not so much concerned about loss or gain, about life or death. The devotee is confident that Krishna will do what is necessary and good for me. So therefore the devotee is completely fearless. That is our aspiration. There are numerous such examples in our history, devotional history. And as devotees, we will get ample opportunities to experience this because this world is full of fear. When we pray to Krishna, then Krishna comes to our rescue. He appears there in our heart, depending on how sincerely and feelingly we call out for him. The chanting of the Hare Krishna Mahamantra is essentially a call for service. Srila Prabhupada emphasized that one should chant the Hare Krishna Mahamantra just like a child cries for its mother. Especially when the child is in a fearful situation. The child cries for the mother. When the mother or father return, the child is happy again. The helpless dependence on the Supreme Lord is the hallmark of that statement, "My dear Lord, I am yours." At the same time, it doesn't mean that we should not do whatever is necessary for our own protection. Being fearless doesn't mean being foolhardy. Foolhardy means that you are foolish. Depending on Krishna's protection and having faith that Krishna will protect doesn't mean that I should sleep at night with the doors of my house wide open. That if Krishna wants, he will protect. If he wants to take everything away, let him take everything away. Or that when I'm traveling on the train, I will hold my wallet up like this so anyone can take it. Krishna wants. Not like that. After all, Krishna has given us intelligence. He has given us ability. And we have to do something about it. We have to use our intelligence to protect ourselves. And only when we find ourselves incapable, then we give trouble to Krishna. Otherwise, we don't want to trouble Krishna with all this. Please protect me from this. Please protect me from that. The devotee feels embarrassed. Why should I approach Krishna for every little thing? But ultimately, because the devotee has nobody else to go to, so he goes to Krishna. So Krishna is very indulgent. He said, all right, that's fine. Where else will my child go? Where will my dear devotee go apart from me? And especially in a life-threatening situation or a very dangerous situation, then yes, it is not against the principle of pure devotional service to approach Krishna for protection, just as Draupadi did. When Draupadi's attempted disrobing happened in the court of Dhritarashtra, and when nobody was able to protect her, then she tried to protect herself. She was unable to do so. And finally she called out, Govinda. Yes. And that one call of Govinda ensured that Krishna appeared there for her protection. In the Bhagavad Gita also Krishna says, Kaunteya pratijanihi name bhaktaha pranashyati. My dear Arjuna, please go and declare that my devotee will never perish. This is Krishna's promise. So we should have faith in Krishna. Then where is the question of fear and insecurity? Draupadi in the Mahabharata prays, Pratignyatava Govinda name bhaktaha pranashyati iti samsmritya pranan dharayam yaham. She says, my dear Govinda or Krishna, you have made a promise. Pratigya tava Govinda. What is that promise? Name bhaktaha pranashyati, that my devotees will never perish. Iti samsmritya. I keep on remembering this promise of yours again and again. Pranam dharayam yaham, and that is how I am able to keep my life airs within my body. So that faith in Krishna's words is what constitutes our fearlessness. Srila Prabhupada says in one lecture that Krishna has not descended here to this world to speak lies. So when he says, I will protect my devotees, He's not bluffing. He hasn't come here to bluff. He is the supreme absolute truth, and he is speaking the truth that I will protect my devotees. So we should have faith in Krishna's words. We should have faith in Krishna's process of devotional service. In the Srimad Bhagavatam it is explained that the nature of human beings is that we always lament about the past, we are dissatisfied with the present, and we are fearful about the future. Isn't it? Think about it. We lament about the past. Oh, I'm old now, I wish I was young. When I was a young man, everything would be so nice. Or we think I should have done it like that, I didn't do that, it was a wrong decision, and because of that there's so many problems. When it comes to the present, then we are dissatisfied. We think, oh, I don't have so much money as I would have liked to have. Or there is this problem or that problem. So we're dissatisfied with the present. And then, about the future, we are anxious, fearful, what's going to happen tomorrow. But if we have strong faith in Krishna, even if we lament for the past, we will lament for the fact that we didn't come to Krishna consciousness till now. That can be our legitimate lamentation. We don't need to lament for anything else. But even then, that lamentation should not make us depressed. As far as dissatisfaction with the present, we can be a little dissatisfied with our service to Krishna. We should want to do more and more service to Krishna. And as far as anxiety about the future, we can be concerned that Krishna, please protect me that I don't fall into Maya in the future, that I don't forget you in the future. This was Brahma's fear as well. When Brahma was blessed by Krishna and endowed with the knowledge of creation of the universe, then Brahma prayed to him, my dear Lord, please ensure that I do not get proud. I'm very afraid that I may get proud. And Krishna blessed him and said, all right, I bless you that you will not become proud. So don't be afraid of the future. So devotional service is the perfect process for us to become well situated in transcendental life. Bhajahu re mana Sri Nandanandana Abhaya Charanara Vindare. Again, Abhaya Charanara Vindare. Krishna's lotus feet are those that award fearlessness to those who take shelter of them. Otherwise, there is no question of being free from fear. In the Srimad Bhagavatam 11th canto, the 9 Yogendras explain, Bhayam Vityabhiniveshatah syad Ishadapetasya viparyayos spritihi. He says that bhayam or fear arises because of absorption in something other than Krishna. When our minds are absorbed in Maya, not in Krishna consciousness, then we become fearful. Ishad apetasya, when we turn away from Isha, from Krishna, from the Lord, viparyayaha, asmriti, then we forget our spiritual nature. We forget our existence as a spirit soul. We forget that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead and we should take shelter of Him. However, when we come to Krishna consciousness, we turn around and face Krishna, then there is no fear. Fear is there in darkness, but when there is light, then all the fear goes away. When you're stepping out in a place where there is pitch darkness, and you're worried what's going to happen, there may be a ditch here, there may be a thief around the corner, you're afraid. But when there is sunlight, then there is no fear. Even darkness is caused by the sun. Do you know why? Stand with your back to the sun. And what do you see in front of you? Shadow. Shadow is dark. Shadow is darkness. But if you stand facing the sun, then you don't see any shadow. The shadow is behind you. You don't feel any darkness. So if we turn away from Krishna, there will be the darkness of fear and ignorance. When we turn around to face Krishna, which means to serve Him and to love Him and to be Krishna conscious, then there is no fear. So while we should continue to do our little bit in terms of working for a livelihood, taking care of our belongings, our family, our health, and so on, fundamentally we should have faith to depend on Krishna. We should not depend only on our material arrangements. We should learn to depend on Krishna for complete protection. Ananyas chintayanto mam ye janah paripasate tesham nityabhiyuktanam yogakshemam vahamyaham. In the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says that for one who is constantly thinking about me and serving me with love and devotion, I will protect what he has and provide what he lacks. This is Krishna's promise. So why should I be fearful about what will happen in the future? I will tell you a little story that comes to my mind just now about somebody who eventually became a great, well-known sannyasi and a great commentator on the Srimad Bhagavatam. Legendary commentator who even Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu used to revere. And he said he is the original commentator on the Srimad Bhagavatam. What is his name? Sridhar Swami, that's right. Sridhar Swami was formerly a grihastha as a young man. And actually somehow or the other he didn't want to get married, but then he was married by circumstances, and it so happened that he got married. Then he decided that he wanted to, there was a burst of devotional sentiment. He decided that he wanted to renounce the world and take sannyas. Now don't get scared, that won't happen in Krishna consciousness. That won't happen in our society. So especially for the ladies section, don't be afraid. That is not allowed in ISKCON like that. I just wanted to clarify matters, so you can hear the rest of the story peacefully. So then he approached his wife, and his wife was also very, very devoted. She said, all right, but I am pregnant now, and at least wait till the child is born, then you can go. And mind you, this story cannot be imitated. Yes, we should not think, well, he did that, so I can do it. No, we can't do that. So anyway, she said, wait till the child is born. So he said, okay. So then he waited at childbirth. She delivered, and as Providence would have it, the child was born, but the mother died in childbirth. Now he was left with this little baby. He was all set to go for sannyas, and he saw this little baby, and he said, now when the mother is dead, and there's nobody else in this world to look after this baby, now what do I do? So he was in a real dilemma. He was looking after his little child. And as he was sitting there pondering on what to do next, all of a sudden, he saw this baby lizard that had been born up at the loft of the room somewhere. It fell down to the ground. And as it fell down, it was a newly born baby lizard. There was some insect nearby. So the baby lizard just opened its mouth, put out its tongue, and snapped up that insect and ate it. So this young man started thinking, how did this lizard, baby lizard, know that this is my food? How did this baby lizard know that he has to open his mouth in a certain way, open the tongue, pull this insect in and eat it. How was this insect so perfectly arranged for this baby lizard to be there exactly at the same time so his food could be provided? If Krishna is providing for the baby lizard, why will he not provide for this baby? So he left the baby there and walked out. Shocked. But at that time, one couple was walking by. They heard the cries of the little baby inside. They were a childless couple. And they picked up this little child. And they carried him back. And eventually this child, later on, became a very famous personality. So this was Sridhar Swami. He had such conviction that Krishna will protect this child. Krishna will protect me, Krishna will protect this child. So he took this drastic step. But of course that faith was so strong. We cannot imitate such a thing. That will be gross negligence. It will be a great error if anybody were to do that. Any ordinary person were to think of doing anything like that even. As devotee householders, one has to be very, very responsible in one's discharge of household responsibilities. One cannot do this. But the principle that comes out of this is that Krishna will protect, Krishna will maintain. Why should I worry so much? So we should draw inspiration from these stories, just take the essential lesson there. So this art and this process of depending on Krishna was part of Vedic culture. So therefore people, once they cross the age of 50, they would go for Vanaprastha. They would go into the forest and depend on Krishna. And remember, in those days, they didn't have bank balances and so on, and insurance policies. Elderly people would go, depend on Krishna. Whatever has to happen will happen. It's all in the Lord's care. This was the Vedic culture. This was a custom. Everybody used to leave home like that. And this training was given right from a young age, that we have to depend on Krishna. I remember one brahmachari, or one devotee who is now a sannyasi, but he was talking about his brahmachari days in ISKCON. He's an ISKCON sannyasi now. And he said the first time he read in detail the Sarva Dharman Parityajya verse of the Srimad Bhagavad Gita, he was so inspired. He felt, let me just travel without any money. I will just depend on Krishna. If he has to feed me, or if he has to keep me hungry, Krishna will protect me. So then he ventured out. He was a young brahmachari at that time. And in India, you can get by without paying a ticket, buying a ticket. You can just slip in. And especially if you're a sadhu, what can they do? So he went in, and from Vrindavan he started traveling, going to different parts of the country, went to different holy places. And somehow the other prasadam was provided. There were different mutts and different temples and different dharamshalas. And somehow the other he managed to get by. Finally he reached the South Indian state of Tamil Nadu. Now he was not a South Indian. And in South India, you know that they don't eat chapatis and rotis so much. They mostly like rice. And he was from North India and he liked his rotis. And now ever since he came into Eastern India, he got all, Eastern India also people like rice. In East India and South India, people like rice. And in North India, they like rotis and so on. So anyway, he had not got any rotis for some time, but still he managed to get something. When he reached South India, reached Tamil Nadu, what to speak of rotis, there was no food. And he was walking and walking, he came to one city. And he was really hungry. He hadn't eaten the whole day. Previous day also he hadn't eaten. So he was really hungry. And he was thinking of this verse. He said, Sarva Dharman Parityaja, what is Krishna doing? Where is he not giving my prasadam? I'm so hungry since yesterday. And he didn't know the local language. He couldn't ask anybody anything. And he was really feeling dejected and he was tired, he was hungry. And as he's walking, all of a sudden, there was a building nearby, and from the top, one of the highest stories, there was one gentleman who called out to him. And he said, come up, he indicated like this. So then this devotee was very happy to go. So he walked up to him, and he walked up and this gentleman was there. He said, he welcomed him. He said, are you a Krishna devotee? He said, yes, I'm also a Krishna devotee. I am from Mathura. And he said, I'm so happy to see you. And come, please take prasadam. So this devotee replied, you're happy to see me? I am so happy to see you. So then finally he got his rotis and sabji and he ate. I don't know what happened after that, but he only narrated this incident to me. His experiments with trying to depend completely on Krishna. But even that was a very brave thing to do for a young man to go and just have no money, just walk around, wherever food comes, it comes, travel from place to place like that. But we can learn little lessons in our life that even as we go about our regular duties and our regular business of life, we shouldn't forget that we have to depend on Krishna. We should have our faith. Krishna will do it. We should not have excessive endeavor. We should work in such a way that we will get time and energy for our Krishna consciousness, individually and for the Krishna consciousness of our family and for assisting this Krishna consciousness movement. So the more we cultivate this spirit of dependence on Krishna, this faith in Krishna's words and His protection, the more we will become fearless in this world. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
What is the time now? Okay, Hare Krishna. Is there any... And I'd also like to mention that I'm very happy to see so many devotees here today. I'm sure you all come from different parts of Sydney. I recognize many devotees who are staying in different parts, from everywhere, coming here. So this is a nice place where you have your weekly programs. It's wonderful. So many of you are coming here to do service, and many of you are also coming to the other Gopinath temple in North Sydney. What is it? North Sydney, yes. And any other program, Bhakti Vriksha is going on everywhere, isn't it? So you're very fortunate. You're living in a city where there are so many devotees practicing Krishna consciousness all over the city, so many groups of devotees. And you have access to devotees and to Krishna consciousness even living here in Australia. This is Prabhupada's genius, Prabhupada's mercy. He made available Krishna to all of us living here in Australia. The Radha Gopinath deities in our temple were actually personally installed by Srila Prabhupada, isn't it? Yes. So very special deities, very special temple. How many of you have not been to the Radha Gopinath temple in North Sydney? Please raise your hands. Okay, nice. So please do visit and have darshan of the beautiful deities. And now I think there are very good plans going on to have a very new temple. Which part is that in? Which part of Sydney?
Richmond.
Sorry?
Richmond.
Northwest Sydney. Okay, so Northwest Sydney. So there's a new temple project coming up. And again, something that is so remarkable to have a big project like that over several acres in Sydney. It's such a great privilege, such a great fortune for all of us. Please link up and let's have Srila Prabhupada's family rallying around to make this a reality, so that we can all build up the community of devotees, so that we can spread Krishna consciousness all over Sydney and even beyond. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Do we have time for a question or two? Okay. Yes.
Maharaji, thank you for the nice class. Sometimes, you get put in a particular position of responsibility, and people may glorify you, elevate you, and so forth. And we see it all the time, be it politicians or sportsmen, and they overstay their welcome. They become very attached to their role. How does one continue to carry out that responsibility and yet not be, attached and insecure about someone else taking over? What mood should we have when undertaking that particular responsibility?
Okay, so your question is that there can be also insecurity and fear when it comes to our devotional service or to our certain positions, so on. How should we come over beyond that feeling? Well, by understanding that we are doing devotional service in whichever way. And we are not here for any particular position, we are here only for seva, for service to Krishna, selfless service to Krishna. And whichever way Krishna wants us to serve, we are happy to serve. So for a devotee, this is the principle. That we want to serve in all circumstances. In any way that the devotees want me to serve. We are ultimately the servants of the devotees. If the devotees want me to serve in this way, that's fine. If the devotees want me to serve in that way, that's also fine. So we are servants of the devotees. That is the principle. Mahaprabhu's policy also is Gopi Partu Padakamalayod Das Dasanu Dasaha. We are the servant of the master of the gopis, as Krishna. So with that kind of consciousness or spirit, we will never get possessive about or be attached to the fruits of our devotional service or the privileges that are associated with our devotional service and so on. Right? All right. Yes.
From your knowledge of Bhagavad Gita ji, why do you think we are born in this world?
Why are we?
Why the human being born in the world is being born in this world? I've not read myself Bhagavad Gita ji, but what it means, what's your knowledge about Bhagavad Gita ji? What do you think? What's the message?
Why are we born again and again in this world?
Yes.
Because of forgetfulness of Lord Krishna. Because we wanted to enjoy separately and independently from Lord Krishna. Whereas our constitutional position is that we are meant to serve Krishna and to love Him. But not accepting the path of devotional service to Krishna, we wanted to enjoy independently. So this material world is a place that is meant for that. Meant for those people who try to be rebellious against Krishna's will. It is also a place of rectification and reformation when now we can remind ourselves that we made a big blunder by coming here to this material world, which is a place of misery. Now we should rectify ourselves, take to devotional service, become pure devotees of Krishna, and then go to the spiritual world and be eternally with Krishna. Alright? Okay, one last question. I hope I don't get into trouble now. Yes. Okay, the question is that we all have to become sannyasi internally. How can we do that? By working exclusively for Krishna. In the 6th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, Anashritaha karma phalam karyam karma karotiya. Sa sannyasi cha yogi cha na niragnir na chakriyaha. He says, Anashritaha karma phalam. One should not be attached to the material fruits of our actions. Ashrita means taking shelter. Anashrita means not attached. Anashritaha karma phalam karyam karma karotiya. A person who works and performs karma in this spirit of not being attached to the fruits of the actions, but rather does it for the pleasure of Krishna, out of love for Krishna, sa sannyasi cha yogi cha. Such a person is a sannyasi, is a yogi. Na niragnir na cha akriyaha. Not one who is simply inactive or who doesn't perform acts of devotional service. So in a very broad sense, sannyasi is one who works in a spirit of detachment from the material world and who works only for the pleasure of the Supreme Lord Sri Krishna. That's all. So in that sense, we can all become sannyasis. Yes.